Dark chosen ones, 7 hidden enemies blocking your energy. There are some of us walking this earth who were never meant to blend in. We were born different. Not just to challenge the system, but to dismantle it. We are the dark chosen ones. Not because we are evil, but because we were forged in shadow. Because we were called to walk through the darkness and carry something ancient, something sacred, something unstoppable. But what most people don't realize is this: before we rise, we must wrestle with the hidden enemies that live not just in the world but within us. These are not ordinary obstacles. These are master deceivers, cloaked in the familiar, feeding on your energy while convincing you it's all your fault. And if you don't learn to see them, they will win. They will drain you. They will delay your mission. They will keep your power dormant. But if you do see them, something irreversible happens. You begin to take your energy back. The first hidden enemy is the illusion of isolation. It whispers to you that you're alone, that no one understands you, that your pain is unique and unbearable. It feeds on your silence. It multiplies in your solitude. But here's the real twist. This enemy disguises itself as truth. You believe it because you've lived it. You've been betrayed, misunderstood, excluded. You've spent nights staring into the void, begging for a sign that someone sees you. And in those moments, the darkness wraps itself around you like a lover. But what if I told you that isolation is not the truth, it's a tactic? A trap designed to cut you off from your spiritual grid, your soul family, your divine mission. Because when you believe you're alone, you stop reaching, you stop calling, you stop radiating. And that's when your light dims. The cure: connection. Not surface level, not performance-based, but soul-deep connection. Even one voice, one real presence can shatter the illusion. Are you willing to let someone see the parts you've hidden?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The second hidden enemy is energy leaks disguised as loyalty. This one is brutal. It shows up as people you love, habits you've normalized, obligations you carry like chains. You tell yourself you have to stay, that they need you, that walking away would be selfish. But deep down, you know you're bleeding energy. Every time you shrink to make someone else comfortable, every time you say yes when your soul screams no, every time you compromise your truth for the sake of peace, you leak. And the more you leak, the less you have to build, to create, to transform. This enemy doesn't shout. It seduces. It makes you feel needed, important, responsible. But ask yourself, what if the most radical act of love is not staying, but leaving? Not fixing, but freeing? Not sacrificing your energy, but protecting it like it's holy because it is? The third enemy is false identity, the mask, the performance, the version of you that was built for survival, not truth. You became who you needed to be to avoid abandonment, criticism, rejection. Maybe you became the strong one, the smart one, the funny one. Maybe you became invisible. Either way, you built a persona to protect the real you, and it worked until now. But here's the catch: that mask that once saved you is now suffocating you. You can't channel divine power through a false self. The universe only responds to what's real. So the longer you cling to the mask, the more out of alignment you feel, the more exhausted, the more disconnected, the more blocked. The enemy isn't the world, it's the version of you that was never truly you. And the only way to reclaim your energy is to strip it all away, layer by layer, until only the raw, radiant truth remains. Are you ready to meet yourself without the mask? The fourth enemy is emotional debt. All the unprocessed pain you've tucked away, thinking it was behind you. It's not. It's stored. In your body, in your nervous system, in your aura. And every time you try to rise, it pulls you back down like spiritual gravity. You think you're stuck because you lack motivation, but you're stuck because you're carrying unresolved grief, rage, shame. These emotions are not weaknesses. They are frequencies. And if they're not transmuted, they become blockages. Heavy, invisible chains that keep your energy trapped. The only way out is through. You must feel what you never gave yourself permission to feel. You must let it move. Let it scream. Let it shake. Because on the other side of that emotional purge is your power. Not the idea of power, the embodiment of it. The fifth enemy is spiritual bypassing. The tendency to use positivity, detachment, or intellectualism to avoid the real work. You say things like everything happens for a reason while ignoring your intuition screaming that something is wrong. You meditate instead of confronting. You journal instead of leaving. You read instead of acting. You convince yourself that you're being spiritual, but really you're avoiding the fire. And without fire, there is no alchemy. Without confrontation, there is no liberation. Light without shadow is incomplete. You were not called to be polite. You were called to be powerful. And sometimes power looks like raw honesty, sacred rage, unapologetic boundaries. The bypass is the enemy, not the emotion. These hidden enemies are not just concepts. They are energetic parasites. They live in your blind spots. They feed on your power. And they are counting on you staying asleep. But now you see them. And once you see, you can't unsee. So here's the question. Not a surface question, but a soul question. What have you normalized that is actually draining the life force out of you? Because the moment you answer that honestly, the war begins to turn. The shadow contracts how you were programmed to betray your own power. There's a truth so deep it shakes the bones of every chosen one. When they finally face it, we were programmed systematically, generationally, spiritually to betray our own power. Not by accident, not by some random flaw in human nature, but by design. You see, it's not just that there are hidden enemies draining your energy from the outside. The real trap is the programming inside you that keeps saying yes when your soul is screaming no. The enemy isn't just external, it's internalized. It's the voice that tells you to be smaller, quieter, less emotional, more digestible. It's the voice that says, don't shine too bright, they won't like it. That voice was implanted. It was taught. And it became so familiar you started to think it was you. But it's not. It's a shadow contract. You never consciously signed a contract to abandon yourself. These contracts are invisible agreements. You don't remember writing them, but they run like code beneath your awareness. They sound like, I'll stay silent to keep the peace. I'll overgive so I don't get left. I'll dim my gifts so I'm not seen as a threat. These agreements are ancient. Many of them didn't even start with you. They came through your lineage. Your ancestors, too, were silenced, shamed, punished for their power. And somewhere along the way, they made a deal. It's safer to submit than to speak. It's easier to survive than to shine. That deal got passed down through blood, through energy, through culture. And now it lives in you not because you're weak, but because you were chosen to break it. Every time you play small to be loved, that's a contract. Every time you tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict, that's a contract. Every time you pretend to be less intuitive, less passionate, less you, just to fit in, that's a contract. And here's what no one tells you. Those contracts don't just block your energy. They block your destiny. Because your power is connected to your purpose. You can't fulfill your mission while betraying your soul. And the world will keep rewarding your mask, applauding your performance, feeding your false self until one day, the inner death becomes too loud to ignore. You wake up to the truth that you've been starving in a room full of crumbs, that you've been surviving on borrowed light. And in that moment, you either rise or you rot. The breaking of these contracts isn't clean. It's messy. It hurts. because they're attached to people, places, identities. When you start to say no to what your soul never agreed to, you'll lose things. People will leave. Systems will push back. You'll feel guilt, shame, fear. That's the tether snapping. That's the old spell dissolving. That's what awakening feels like, not bliss, but grief. Grief for all the times you said yes when you meant no. Grief for all the versions of you that kept everyone else comfortable while you silently suffered. But that grief is sacred. It's not weakness. It's the ashes from which your real self rises. And then something wild happens. As you break these internal contracts, your energy begins to return. Slowly, steadily. It's like plugging back into your original source code. You laugh louder. You see clearer. You stop second-guessing. Your intuition sharpens. You feel stronger in your body. Time bends around your choices. You walk into rooms, and the air shifts. Not because you're trying to be powerful, but because you finally stop being powerless. You're no longer outsourcing your worth. You're no longer asking for permission to exist. You've remembered you are the permission. But it doesn't stop there. Because once you break your personal contracts, you'll start to see the collective ones. The ones that say women must be soft, men can't cry, leaders must be likable, truth must be palatable. These are the deeper layers of the matrix. And as a dark chosen one, you weren't just sent to escape them. You were sent to expose them, to unravel the lies woven into the fabric of this reality. But to do that, you must be willing to be misunderstood, to be called too much, too intense, too different. That's the cost of freedom. That's the price of truth. So I'll ask you something only your soul can answer. What have you been agreeing to that your higher self never consented to? What part of your life is built on betrayal of your body, your boundaries, your brilliance? Because once you see the contract, you can break it. And once you break it, you take your energy back. Not just a little, all of it. The hidden gatekeepers, why certain people show up right before your breakthrough. There's a pattern that almost no one talks about, but once you see it, you'll never forget it. Every time you're inches away from a breakthrough, when your energy is surging, when your clarity is sharp, when you're moments from stepping fully into your power, someone shows up. A person, a situation, a distraction. And they don't look like an enemy. In fact, they often look like exactly what you've been asking for. A friend, a lover, an opportunity. They come wrapped in charm, urgency, or need. But beneath the surface, they carry something ancient. They're not just people. They're gatekeepers. And their role isn't to help you ascend, it's to test if you're ready. These gatekeepers are not always conscious of their role in your journey. Sometimes they genuinely believe they care about you. Sometimes they're entirely unaware that they're being used as instruments to trigger your old wounds, your deepest doubts, or your most vulnerable attachments. But make no mistake, they're here for a reason. They show up as mirrors, as karmic echoes, as spiritual bouncers at the threshold of your next dimension. And they carry one question: are you really who you say you are now? Or are you still tied to the version of you we once knew? This is the moment where many chosen ones fall back, because these tests don't come in obvious forms. They don't arrive with warning signs or red flags. They arrive with familiarity. They speak your old language. They flirt with your insecurities. They offer you comfort in exchange for your growth. And if you're not grounded in your truth, you'll trade your evolution for validation. You'll let them back in, telling yourself it's just for now, just for a little while, just until you're stronger. But what you don't realize is that letting them in is the test, and failing that test resets the cycle. These gatekeepers often come carrying unresolved attachments. They trigger your desire to fix, to save, to be needed. They'll call on the healer in you, the empath, the loyal protector. And they'll do it so subtly that you won't even notice you're leaking energy again until it's too late. Until your clarity turns to confusion. until your momentum turns to stagnation, until your power dissipates into caretaking someone else's chaos. That's how it works. The gatekeeper doesn't need to defeat you. They just need to distract you long enough that you miss the door that was opening for you. But here's where your awareness becomes your weapon. The moment you begin to recognize the pattern, you reclaim your power. You stop asking, why is this happening to me again? And you start asking, what part of me is still available for this? Because the truth is, these people can only access you if there's still a frequency in you that matches them. A wound, a fear, a doubt. Their arrival is not proof that you're failing, it's proof that you're close. So close that the final chords must be cut. The final echoes must be silenced. The final disguises must be unmasked. And when you pass the test, when you look at the gatekeeper with love but say, no, I'm not that version of me anymore, something shifts. The energy they were feeding on dissolves. The contract collapses. The doorway opens. And you walk through not just with more power, but with more discernment. Because now you've earned it. Not through theory, but through fire. You've proven to the universe that you can hold your radiance even when the past comes calling. You've shown that you won't trade your future for fragments of familiarity. The deeper truth is this: gatekeepers don't show up to stop you. They show up to see if you've stopped betraying yourself. And if you have, they have no power. Their presence becomes irrelevant. Their spell breaks. They fade. And in their absence, something beautiful happens. Your energy stabilizes. Your vision sharpens. Your manifestations accelerate. Because now your field is clean. Your soul is sovereign. Your yes is sacred. Your no is final. But be warned, some gatekeepers will come in the form of love. That's the hardest one. The person who reflects your deepest longing, your fantasy of being chosen, seen, understood. But if they require you to shrink in order to stay, they are not love, they are a distraction dressed in desire. And the real test is not whether you can love them. It's whether you can love yourself enough to walk away. So ask yourself, not with judgment, but with radical honesty, who or what keeps showing up every time you're about to rise? And what part of you still answers the door? Because once you stop answering, the door stays closed. And the path in front of you, it becomes clear, open, magnetic. The return of power, how to reclaim every fragment of energy you've ever lost. There comes a moment in the dark chosen one's journey when everything slows down, not because you're stuck, but because something sacred is about to return. Your power. Not the surface-level kind that's fueled by ego, performance, or external winds. I'm talking about the original current, the raw, divine voltage you carried before the world taught you to fracture yourself. The energy you gave away to survive. The parts of you that were buried under shame, people-pleasing, fear, and silence. This is the homecoming. And it's not a metaphor. It's real. You can feel it in your bones. You can feel it in your aura. You can feel it every time you say, no more. To reclaim your power, you must first understand where it went. Think back. Every time you silenced your voice to keep the peace, you handed over a piece of your energy. Every time you betrayed your intuition to be accepted, you left a fragment behind. Every time you tolerated what broke your spirit, abandoned your boundaries, or played small so others wouldn't feel threatened, you lost a strand of your soul. And those fragments didn't disappear. They scattered. They became embedded in timelines, in memories, in people who didn't even know what they were holding. And now, in this moment, you are being called to retrieve them. But here's where it gets deep. Reclaiming your energy isn't a one-time ritual. It's a way of life. It's a daily decision to stop leaking, to stop bleeding light into black holes, to stop unconsciously feeding the very systems that feed on you. It's the discipline of energetic sovereignty. It's the commitment to presence. Because once you become aware of how sacred your energy is, you stop giving it away like it's free. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing. You stop performing. You start being. And in the being, the fragments come home. Do you know what it feels like when a piece of your power returns? It's subtle at first. A breath that goes deeper. A thought that feels clearer. A decision that comes easier. Then, suddenly you're standing taller, speaking bolder, loving louder. You realize you're no longer apologizing for existing. You're no longer afraid of being misunderstood. You're no longer waiting to be chosen because you've chosen yourself. That's what it means to be whole. Not perfect, not untouchable, but undivided. And yes, there will be grief. Reclaiming your energy means revisiting the moments you gave it away. Not to relive the pain, but to retrieve the part of you that got trapped there. The child who was told to be quiet. The teenager who learned love was conditional. The adult who lost themselves in relationships, jobs, roles. You have to go back not to stay, but to rescue. You have to say to those parts, I see you. I know why you did what you did. And I'm here now. We're safe. We're whole. Let's go. This is the final gate. The moment when you stop outsourcing your power and start circulating it within. When your energy becomes a closed loop, not an open wound. When you realize that every version of you, past, present, future, is calling you into integration. And when that happens, you become unstoppable. Not because you never get knocked down, but because every time you rise, you bring more of yourself with you. So here's your final question, the one that echoes across dimensions, the one only your soul can answer. What part of you is still waiting for permission to come home? Because when you call that part back, when you breathe it in, when you embody it fully, you don't just reclaim your energy. You reclaim your destiny. You were never broken. You were scattered. And now you are whole.